Michelle, we're just going over some individual cases that our viewers may have heard about. Another one that also involves gamblers. I don't know whether that tells you something right there, but I believe there was a hack involving Casino Rama at one point.
Yeah, that was in 2016. I believe it was about 60,000 people's information was hacked to be stolen. And of course, within Ontario, we have the Ontario Lottery Gaming Corporation, which, oversees all these, they regulate all these businesses. So, in that respect, that's just another example. As I always tell people, it doesn't matter what business it is because municipalities are a huge target for a lot of hackers,
Right.
also because they realize that municipalities don't have as much funding as other types of governments, which means they have to put a whole bunch of resources out and they don't necessarily have all the money to deal with privacy and cybersecurity. But going back to Casino Rama is the fact of why do these things keep happening? And it's because technology keeps increasing, like we said in the first segment. And if companies don't keep up, then they're just going to be easy targets. They're just sitting ducks. And so, really, it can't be an afterthought anymore. Privacy and cybersecurity has to be first and foremost with any type of budgeting that's done within a business and whatever they do. And further, I think that best practices need to be maintained better. We don't have a requirement within Canada to have a privacy officer in each company. Many companies do, but we don't. But perhaps maybe it would be a good regulation to have, because if you have someone who could be responsible for that and they have the authority to do so, then maybe business will be much more compliant.
Yeah, and it seems that businesses are getting that kind of advice now. Hopefully, they're taking. We'll talk. We'll get back to that in a second. But another issue that has come to light recently is the Ontario government's plan to digitize driver's licenses and health cards. Again, is this an area that could be of concern?
I don't think so. Just because, like, well, in theory, I don't think it would be. In practice, well, that's a different ballgame. I
Right.
mean, like everything in life, right? It really just does come down to how it's executed. And if the Ontario government can execute this well, then this will be a huge benefit for all of us. But if it isn't, so how it can be better? If you go onto the website, you'll see that they actually point out how it can be better, because a lot of the physical IDs weren't created with the thought in mind of somebody stealing it or stealing your identity, whereas this is being created with that exact thought in mind. A lot of people nowadays, especially when we had the pandemic where you couldn't go out, but people still had to do business, people would send a lot of their information through email.
Mm.
Email's not safe. It's not safe, especially if you're in a public Wi-Fi. And now, instead of maybe copying your ID, taking a photo of it and then emailing it to someone or a business, or let's say a job that you're applying to, now you have this digital ID that is hugely secured. And then now people can be protected and they don't have to worry about it being saved or someone handling it. And it also really comes down to accessibility and human error, really. Who's handling your information? I think that's the biggest thing that everybody needs to think about. But if they're saying what they're advocating is saying comes true, then I think it could be actually a benefit for many people. And the
Interesting.
best part about it is it's voluntary, which I think is
Oh,
the most important thing about this program, that it's voluntary. It's not required, unlike the federal government, who's trying to initiate it where it's mandatory with our passports.
so tell us a little bit about the federal then. I wasn't even aware of that. What's going on there?
So the federal government, so as you know, maybe you've traveled lately or not traveled to
I
the
have, yeah,
airport, but
yeah.
yeah, okay. So when you come into our customs and you land, you go through that kiosk, right? You put your little passport in there, and then there's a screenshot that takes a view of your photo.
Right.
You don't really have a choice in the matter. You got to accept it, otherwise you don't go through, right? That's just right. You can make an objection, but then you're going to be spending another hour or so there. Who knows how longer? And most people don't want to do it. So we're unwillingly consenting.
Mm.
And what are they doing with this information? I don't know. So what the Liberal Trudeau government is saying is, well, we're going to collect everyone's facial IDs for recognition technology. So we call it FRT, right? And we're going to keep it in a database. So this way we can use it for future matters. Now, this is where I have a problem because there's no particulars about it. There's nothing about what it's going to cost us, who is going to be responsible for it. Like these are a lot of
Right.
open-ended questions, and some people's arguments were like, "Well, we're already collecting this." I'm like, "Yeah, that's already a problem."